There are moments when the storm becomes so loud that it seems to fill everything you can see. The wind, the waves, the darkness, and somewhere in the middle of it all, Jesus, standing on the very thing that frightens me. I've been thinking about Peter lately, about the night Jesus came walking to his disciples on the water, and Peter looked at him and said, "Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water." And Jesus said one word, "Come." And Peter came. Sometimes I think we remember the sinking so much that we forget the miracle that happened first. Peter walked on water. He climbed out of the safety of the boat and put his foot on something that could not possibly hold him. And it held him. Because Jesus had said, "Come." And lately I've realized I know something about that place, because I feel like I was walking on water too, believing, trusting, looking at Jesus, doing things I couldn't do unless he was the one there holding me. But then I noticed the storm, and suddenly the waves looked bigger, the wind sounded louder, and the thing beneath my feet didn't feel quite as certain anymore. I understand Peter differently now, because sometimes you can know Jesus is there and still notice the storm. Sometimes faith and fear collide in the very same moment, and Peter cried, "Lord, save me." And this may be my favorite part of the whole story. Scripture says immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. Immediately, not after Peter got himself together, not after he proved that he had enough faith, not after he climbed back onto the water by himself. Immediately, Jesus reached for him. And when I picture that moment, I don't see disappointment in Jesus' eyes. I see kindness, tenderness, love. I see the face of someone who already knew Peter would sink before he even told him to come. And he still said, "Come." Because Jesus wasn't surprised by Peter's fear. He wasn't disappointed that Peter needed his hand. And I don't believe his words, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" were words of condemnation. When I picture his face, I see that soft smile, almost like a father saying, "Come on, keep your eyes on me. I've got you." The storm was still happening. The wind was still blowing. The waves were still crashing. But something had changed. I wasn't walking toward Jesus anymore. I was walking with him. His hand was holding mine. His presence was beside me. And the same water I had just been sinking beneath was beneath my feet again. Not because I suddenly had perfect faith, not because the storm had stopped, but because he was with me. Maybe sometimes that's the miracle. Not that the storm disappears immediately, but that in the middle of it, I discover I'm not walking through it alone. We walk back to the boat together. And then the wind stopped. Peace. I imagine Peter standing there, soaked from head to toe, probably still trying to understand what had just happened. And I imagine Jesus looking at him with that kindness in his eyes, maybe laughing a little and shaking his head. Not disappointed, not angry, just loving him. Almost as if to say, "Peter, you actually did it! You walked on water!" And maybe Peter smiled back, realizing something he would never forget. For a moment, he had done the impossible with Jesus. But lately, I've been wondering about something. The Bible never tells us that Peter walked on water again. Some might look at that silence and think, he never tried again. But Scripture doesn't actually tell us that. And as I sat with Jesus and allowed myself to imagine, I see something different. I picture another day. No storm, no frightened disciples, no emergency, just Jesus, standing in the middle of the water, waiting for me, smiling. His arms stretched toward me like a father encouraging his child who was learning to walk. And I can almost hear him saying, "Come on, you got this. Keep your eyes on me." And so I step out again, tentatively at first. One step, then another, and with every step I'm learning something. The water was never what held me. He was. And this time, I'm not trying to prove that I can walk on water. I'm simply learning to trust the one who is teaching me how. And somewhere along the way, the tentative steps become confident ones. The fear begins to disappear, and then I start to run. And suddenly, I'm running. I'm running on the water. And Jesus is laughing, and I'm laughing, and I can almost imagine myself calling out, "Look at me, Jesus, I'm doing it." And I picture him laughing even harder because he knew I could all along. And suddenly, the water doesn't feel like something I have to be afraid of anymore. The place where I once sank has become the place where I learned to play with him. And then something changes again. I'm not running to Jesus anymore. I'm running with him, side by side, laughing, free. I'm not staring down at my feet wondering whether the water will hold me. I'm looking at him, and maybe that's what being a water walker really is. Not never noticing a storm, not never sinking, not having perfect faith, but learning again and again where to look. And after all that running, I picture something quieter. And after all the running, I picture something quieter. Jesus goes out into the middle of the lake and he sits down right there on the water and he waits for me. No storm, no fear, no need to prove anything, just Jesus. With that kindness and tenderness in his eyes, that soft smile, and his hands reaching toward me. And once again, I hear the invitation. Come. Only this time, I'm not afraid of the water because I know who is waiting for me in the middle of it. This time, I'm already there, sitting peacefully on the water, and Jesus is walking toward me. And I realize I don't always have to find my way to him. He comes to me. He always has. Through every storm, through every doubt, through every sinking moment, he comes to me. And there we are, in the middle of the lake, sitting on the water, face to face, hand in hand, smiling. No storm to conquer, no miracle to prove, no one watching, just Jesus and me in the middle of peace. I know I haven't come to the end of my water walking story. It is just beginning. I know that Jesus is never disappointed in me, even when I take my eyes off him and notice the storm. I know that his hand is already and always reaching for mine. And I know that he believes in me. I will get out of the boat. I will take that next step. And if I sink, I know whose hand will catch me. So I will get up and walk again and run again and laugh again and play with Jesus in the place that once frightened me. I will be a water walker, and I will meet him in the middle of peace on the water.